Start your morning with insights and drive. It's the business sit down where ideas come alive. From boardrooms to breakthroughs, we cover it all. Of FS Business School, standing tall. Sit down, tune in, let the wisdom flow. Real talk, big moves, and the knowledge to grow. On your way to work, we're paving the way. The business sit down will set a blaze.
In this episode, we dive into the fascinating world of career planning for performing artists with Dr. Ronel Kleynhans. From honing their craft to navigating the business side of the industry, we explore the essential steps and strategies artists can take to build sustainable and successful careers. Our guest will share valuable insights on balancing creativity with practical goals, overcoming common challenges, and maintaining a strong personal brand. Whether you're a dancer, musician, actor, or any other type of performing artist, this episode offers useful advice for anyone looking to make their mark in the industry.
Doc, thank you very much for joining us today. I've got a question. Your expertise specifically is a bit on the let's say on the different side than you would think of the normal academics, where your area of expertise is the career planning for performing artists.
Yes.
So normally you would think that someone that career planning for performing artists would be someone who's a ballerina or something, but you are not. You're an actual academic.
Well, I think we're all a bit of a combination. Nobody is just a something. So in my personal experience, I do have a love for the arts, maybe because I've been an artist myself, a performing artist. So I've been singing myself. I don't get to do it as much these days between all the other responsibilities, but I do have a love for it. And I think my question was, why did I, as an academic, or why did I choose not to follow the career, but just keep it as a hobby? And what makes the difference between people who do follow it as a career and what influence their choices to do it as a career and not just as a hobby.
Now, what are some key factors when a performing artist is doing career process and career planning? What would you say some key factors they need to look at or consider?
Well, I think let's rather ask the question, those who are in the performing arts, what did they consider? And those were things like, from the research I've done, is things like, first of all, do they have somebody that's really there for them, that believes in them? Not specifically somebody that says you have to become a performing artist, but somebody that says, all right, I believe in you, just follow your dreams. And that is true for, I want to say, in any field of study. Is there one person, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a parent, but says, you know what, their dream, follow it. So I think that was one big aspect of following the route. And then the second one is, many artists told me this, is that it's not a path that you choose. The performing arts chooses you. So if you don't do it, you die, in a sense, in many of their words. So it's this passion, something from inside that you know, I have to do this, otherwise I'm going to miss my life's calling.
Now, the next thing, while we're talking about performing arts and career planning and everything, how do they balance? Because most performing artists I know is extremely creative and very sparkly in their way of thinking about things.
You're saying it very nicely, sparkly.
How do they balance something as flexible as the performing arts with something as rigid as career planning, and more specifically stuff like financial planning, etc.?
Now, going back to the research, even though many of us realize that it's important that they do it, when you look at the research, 99% of the artists don't want to do it. They've actually got an aversion against financial planning and business. They hate it. So when I looked at my own research, of all the participants, there were one person that had her own career performing arts festivals. They did it as a business. The others told me, I don't want to think about money. I don't want to touch it. But the reality is you have to live. And you don't want to become a Van Gogh that dies and afterwards only makes it in the field. So it is there, you have to deal with it. Not just attend the entrepreneurship courses, and that was my view, is to say, all right, how are we going to approach performing artists so that they realize, you know what, I can make it fun. It doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't have to be something that I have to do. There are so many tools these days that can help you with the aspect you don't particularly like. And that is true in all of our businesses and there's tools. You don't have to do everything anymore.
I've got you just mentioned the fact that you don't want to be a Van Gogh, in inverted commas, and only become financially stable after you pass away, because then you can't use the money. How does something like mentorshipping and collaborations impact the career trajectory of someone who's a performing artist?
I believe from a neuroscience point of view, we're all a tribe and we're made to be adaptable. All right. So we are made to help each other. That's how we survive.
Yes.
And many of the older artists, when you go and look at their lives, you see they are there contributing. I'm thinking of Sandra Prinsloo. She's got a drama studio. Jerry Mofokeng, he always says, let the young, he teaches what he knows when he's in the studio to the younger artists. And you can go on and on, use the mentorship. But I also thinking of Jerry Mofokeng, he always says, you know what, these youngsters want to come in and they want to go onto the set of a Isidingo or go onto the set of whatever, and they want to go on with their bling, and they want to go on with the attitude and with the grand cars, and they're not always willing to listen to the older, wiser people. They're also not always willing to learn, meaning to take the courses, whether it's now varsity or another institution. Do the learning, because only then you can break the rules. But many times they're not willing to. And it's the older generation that says, many times I find my life purpose in sharing what I've gone through. So collaborations are important, networking is important, and it also, because the performing arts can be a very lonely type of career. You're on your own, you have to make it. Competition is high. So why not use the collaboration? Why not use the networks that you do have? Work together, create that synergy.
You mentioned someone like Sandra Prinsloo. I'm unfortunately someone that doesn't watch Isidingo. So Sandra Prinsloo I know from movies my parents used to watch. Now, how important is it for someone like a Sandra Prinsloo or whoever, when they were younger, to maybe diversify either their skills or their portfolio without compromising on the true passion they have for the specific art they are busy with?
I think that there's two sides to the question. The one side is that you must never lose your true self. That is what's your value system and who are you. But then on the other side, you have to continuously reinvent yourself. It doesn't mean you have to go totally out of your art form. I'm thinking of a Kurt Grobbelaar. He's a well-known opera singer. Now, he's been in Europe for a long time, and then because of his love for the country, he came back to South Africa. And he told me the other day also, he said, you know what, you have to think of new ways that you can do this. Even within your genre, it doesn't mean you have to... He's not going to work with hip-hop, for example. He's an opera singer. So it doesn't mean you have to lose yourself and who you are, but you have to reinvent. You have to learn and relearn and upskill yourself the whole time.
Speaking about upskilling everything, one of my favorites as a child, and my wife knows it as well, TV stars, he unfortunately doesn't act anymore, that I was crazy about was Art Botha. For some reason, I always, when I was a child, I always said to my mum, that is one of the manliest people I've seen. I always thought that was like South African version of Tom Selleck. And recently, my wife, bless her heart, said to me, no, he's got an art studio somewhere in Clarence or
Yeah,
somewhere.
he's got one in Clarence.
And my wife said no, because she knows I'm a big fan of art. She said, no, one day we should go there and maybe see if we can afford to buy one of his art pieces, because I'm a big fan of him specifically. Now, my question comes back to the diversification. Is it easy for someone who does career planning, someone like an Atbota or whoever, who's an actor or in the performing arts, to transition, or would it be advisable for them to maybe consider, if they've got the skill, to transition something to another form of the arts? Or is performing arts career planning better to stay within the performing arts, like a Sandra Prinsloo, who went from acting to singing, etc.?
That's a difficult question, because it's the whole question of specialization versus generalization. The artists making it at the moment are all diversifying. Here in Bloem, there's, for example, a Belinda, and she has she gives art lessons, she sings, she does drama, she does her music videos. So she does a host of things. And I think if you want to be in the field, you cannot say, you know what, I want to be a Puritan and only do this. But as I said, as long as you stay true to yourself.
What is, talking about Puritan, what are some common mistakes that performing artists make when they do career planning, and what can they do to maybe mitigate those mistakes?
To answer your first question, I don't think they do career planning. I don't think a lot of people do career planning. So I think they just live from day to day. So I think the first aspect is to say, to deal with this as a lifelong career, and to say, you know what, this is my choice, and I'm going to do what I need to do to follow my passion. And then to get in the advice or whatever you need to make it a career. You cannot just, and that is where I believe in the 4 C's. We can maybe discuss it later, but to approach this performing arts as, this is what I want to do with my life, and to be level-headed about it and address it as such.
When we look at career planning, especially for someone like a performing artist, brand is of the utmost importance. What is or how do performing artists build their brand, and what is the best way? Because to do career planning, I'm assuming, if they decide to do career planning, the small amount that does, I'm assuming building a strong brand would go with that. What is a very strong or a good idea when they look at building a brand in order to ensure career planning?
Well, I think the modern society just works excellent in terms of your branding. If we think of the olden days, you didn't have such an impact on the brand you wanted, because you had to go to a recording company. That cost you hundreds of thousands if you got a contract. If you didn't got a contract, you had to pay it yourself. And usually they would look at the market and say, all right, this is the market, this is the type of songs you have to sing, and they, in a way, determined your brand. So whether you were all comfortable with that or not, you didn't have a choice, because they were the ones with the money. Where these days, you can produce a song online and you can determine your own brand. So it's much easier, and the creators are king at the moment. We see it in all the online tools. You can determine what's the brand I want. You can do a short on TikTok and you've immediately got how many followers or viewers, which wasn't the case in the olden days. I'm thinking of, it's just much easier also to get your stuff out there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's also the difference. In previous generations or olden days, 20 years ago even, it had to be perfect before you put it in the market. These days it doesn't. It's about content is king. So I'm now thinking, a friend of mine in December quickly contacted me. He said they want to do 100 songs for the Arctic of Fear, 100 songs for their celebration this year. He called me the Friday. On Monday, we quickly did a recording, and they're releasing one song each day on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. It's just much easier, and you've got to reach. But it's all about content. And you have to determine, all right, am I guiding clearly on the content I want, and get people then to drive the content if you cannot get to it each and every day.
when I think about performing arts, I normally think of actors, etc. And along with that, I normally think of a set like the one we are doing this recording with. And now, normally, I think of a toolbox. So, what would you say is a must-have skill that a performing artist need to have in their toolbox, irrespective of their discipline, whether it be a singer, whether it be someone who's on TV? What's one must-have skill that you believe they need to have in their toolbox to succeed?
I'm going to ask for two skills.
I'll give you 2 skills, it's fine.
All right, the first one is know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. Because if you don't have that, you get sidetracked. And I mean, it's a bling industry, so be very clear and grounded of where you are and where you're going. So that's the first one. And the other one then that I would mention is basically, I call it the 4 C's, or not me, it's a Savikas term of the 4 C's of career adaptability and career resilience. And the first one is career concern, meaning you have to have a future orientation. You cannot just say, oh, this is so nice, I'm singing and it's lovely. Somewhere you have to say, okay, where am I going? What am I going to do for the future? Then, so it's the career concern, then the career control, to say, all right, I take responsibility, I'm proactive in this path. Then, do I have the confidence? I have to believe in myself and build myself up, because it can be a very harsh environment. You get the critics, and very much it's subjective. There's no objective measurement to say this is good or this is not good. It's very subjective. So in a way, you have to develop a thick skin and know who and what you are. And then lastly, the curiosity. And the curiosity is all about saying, all right, how can I adapt? How can I evolve? How can I stay curious about new options and new ways of doing stuff? So in those 2 aspects, I would say, first, know who you are, and secondly, through career adaptability, adapt the whole time through these 4 C's.
We spoke about Vincent van Gogh a bit earlier, which I actually, when I was in school, our arts teacher was a big Vincent van Gogh fan. So if there was something that had a bit of a Vincent van Gogh vibe, even if it wasn't a painting by him, but in a Starry Night type of a painting style, she had in the class. So let's say you had the chance to give career advice to a historical performance artist. I know Vincent van Gogh isn't a performing artist, but he's he brings my mind back to the historic question. Let's say you could have a conversation, a coffee with a historic performing artist, alive or dead. What career advice would you give them, and why?
I'm thinking of somebody like Elvis Presley. I mean, he just died before his time. And I think I would tell him, you know what? Stay grounded and use the 4 C's. I would teach him the 4 C's, because I think he lost himself in the process and he didn't take control. I think things happened too fast. It was just too much going on, too quick, all the success. But he didn't stay grounded and knew who he was and where he was going.
Talking about Elvis, who basically lost control in the end, do you think the reason why there's not a big focus on career planning for performing artists is perhaps because they're rising stars who start building up momentum too fast, and their ability to handle the pressure or the fame or the money even isn't proportional to their fame or their growth?
At times it can happen that way, but it doesn't always. Sometimes it's just you need the tenacity and grit to keep going. So at times it is, fame too quick, but I think that we can be said about a lot of type of occupations. I think what is important is they follow a protein career path, meaning there's not a set career path. And that a lot of times makes it changeable, makes it uncertain. And therefore they must be grounded and know whether fame comes tomorrow or only in 5 years or 10 years or never. So for some it never comes, because it's about, and coming back to yourself, is what is success for you? And that is what they have to determine. Is it things like fame or money, or am I doing this for, I know this is my calling. But even in that, you have to survive and to keep the balance and this, in all of that.
Now, my last question, looking at performing artists and career planning is, as I've said in the beginning of the interview, is a topic that you don't normally get. Who or was there performing artist that maybe inspired you to say, listen, I think this is something I need to research? And why did you decide to specifically research this very interesting topic?
Somebody I just loved from a young age was Barbara Streisand. I love her style. I love the way she's versatile. And in a way, she inspired me to sing myself and do drama myself. So I always enjoyed her. I think her versatility, her way of adapting, her way of also her humbleness and how she was willing to share the stage in terms of, we spoke about collaboration with people like Celine Dion and people like that. So I think the way that she managed her career and herself was just always excellent.
That's very interesting. I'll do a bit of reading about her, but the only thing I know about Barbara Streisand is movies, and then that a mental phenomenon, I don't know if you know this, was named after her a while ago. Did you know this?
No.
There's a thing called the Barbara Streisand effect. That is when you try to take the attention away from something, and by trying to take their attention away, it causes people to focus more on it. This happened when Google Maps a couple of years ago decided to do when the street views started getting more popular. She had a huge court case and everything against Google to try and get her house removed. That caused more people to know where she lives. So now there's a thing called the Barbara Streisand effect. You can go Google it, which is, it got coined because of her. It's when you try to take attention away from something, and that
Actually
causes
puts
more
more
people to look at it. Yes.
But I think in that sense, the fact that she tried to do that in itself means she was very clear of creating boundaries. And that, I think, is so important, especially with all the platforms these days, is to be very clear to create a safe place for yourself in all of this.
I think boundaries especially is very important. I went to university with a couple of people that's very famous performing artists at the moment. The one guy I'm very good friends with to this day. And I know I met about 2-3 months ago. We had coffee when we were in Johannesburg. And he said to me the thing that he says he likes the people that come up to him and ask for his autograph. He said, but sometimes people think that they own him in the fact that he can't sit with his mother or his girlfriend at this stage and just drink a coffee. Unfortunately, people walk up and they interrupt him in the middle of a conversation or something. So I think boundaries especially is extremely important, because that ensures that you at the end of the day can at least keep a space.
But I want to say something. I think it's also how you interpret that situation. Because at the end, because you're out there, you must realize that comes with the territory. And how can you use that actually to your advantage?
But Doc, thank you very much for your time. I know you're extremely busy, so I appreciate that you took the time to come sit and have a chat with me. I hope we can have you on the couch in a month or two with a new fresh topic or a new spin on this, because I think we only scratched the surface of performing artists and career planning. I'd like to say once again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Start your morning with insights and drive. It's the business sit down.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, share this with friends and family, and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.